it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. Well, today is another fun video and we are going to be focusing on craft cardstock today. So I use the Lawn Fawn craft cardstock. I just cut this down. I can get 2 card bases per sheet for this and my cards end up being 4 1/4 by 5.5 options. Now I'm going to show you one very homemade, homegrown card today, and then one with a little bit of stamping in case that's your thing too. So hopefully I cover off both options. One of them is so simple, but we're going to do the stamping one first. This is the layered watercolor stamps, I think it's called, something like that. These are a pretty good price point actually. I believe these may be acrylic. Don't quote me, actually, I'm not sure, but they had a pretty low price point and that works for me. Now, the fill-in stamps, the solid stamps, are watercolor looking. So, I must admit, and I kept it all in here so that you can see, I kind of kept it all in so you could see how I just wasn't quite getting the look I was after, so I had to adjust a couple. I'm stamping these out in some sticky embossing ink, and even if you just left the embossing ink as is, you're going to get a really nice tone on tone version of this. But just because this is the road I'm going down today, I am going to emboss this with some white embossing powder. Now I just wanted my flowers at different lengths here, so I just put down a little bit of mint tape, which is just a low tack tape, just so that I could kind of mask off the bottom of that stem so that they were all nice and even, because I want my sentiment to go down there eventually too. I throw over some, this is the extra fine, super fine embossing powder. I prefer to go for the extra fine one just because it means I can do really detailed, fine detailed images really easily, but I can also color in solid images if need be as well. So I tend to, when I'm choosing embossing powders, go down that road. And then I start off using some distress oxides. Now I will preface this by saying that for me personally, I don't get good results when stamping with distress oxides. So also I'm stamping with acrylic blocks, which means I'm not going to stamp over and over again in the same spot when I might do with a stamping platform. And these are solid stamps that fill in, they're the watercolor parts. So obviously solid stamps and an ink for me that doesn't work well for stamping is a fun mixture. And on top of that, these are meant to be watercolory. They're not meant to fit perfectly. If you want a perfect look, then I would suggest maybe using the distress oxides, popping a little bit of the ink on the lid, and then kind of watercoloring them like I do, which is the perfect option. But I must admit, I tried the lightest ink here and I didn't love it. So I've moved on to the Worn Lipstick, which is slightly darker, and I like that better. I just didn't feel like my yellow was the right colour. So I must admit, as you'll see, I went over the pink with a different colour. Now instead of having the yellow, I'm going to use Spiced Marmalade, which is just an orangey colour, and I think this works out better. I like the pink, the orange and the green all together for a nice watercolory look. Now at the moment, I think this card was not perfectly coming together for me, but bear with me because I think I really love this one, and then I think my next one is even better, and that is the kind of more homemade one as well, where you don't even need stamps for it. So this is just a fun kind of script that I like the look of. This is from Doodlebug and I think it's called Happy Birthday or Happy Birthday Sentiments. As per usual, I will have all of these things linked down below. Now I quite like this for the kind of loose watercolory look, and that's why I like this, the kind of fun, messy, happy, scripty kind of font that this one is. So that's why I went with this one, and it's just happy birthday, a gorgeous, easy happy birthday card. I got a little bit of extra white there, and just wipe that off with either a paintbrush or your finger, and then I'm going to melt this layer, and then again I'm going to go back to one of my tried and true methods of finishing off these cards. Now this is the Uni-Ball 3-pack. I use the white gel pen from the 3-pack. Now don't ask me why, I know I've said this before, but when I buy them open stock individually, I don't have very good luck with these white Uni-Ball pens, and I know that everybody talks about how amazing they are. Then when I bought a 3-pack, because I wanted the gold and the silver and I was trying one more time with the white, it works beautifully. So I don't know why that is, but the white in the 3-pack, and then when I've mentioned it before in videos, I get so many comments saying, me too. I found exactly the same thing. So why is that? I don't know. But nonetheless, right. Now, this is the only stamp you're going to need here. This is from Waffle Flower, and I just wanted a gorgeous little stamp to go in the corner. Now, I'm doing the sentiment first because then I can place everything else. Then I know where everything else needs to go. I'm using the same embossing ink as I did before. I'm kind of going for a white on craft look today. But this one is super fun, and I'm going to show you 4 different styles that you can do with just your white pen that are so simple. I promise you can do this. So I'm doing the same thing. I'm putting the white embossing powder on top of the ink, and this makes it stick beautifully. If you get a little bit of extra, then I just use a dry paintbrush to get it off if it's close to the letters. Otherwise, I can just use my hand. And then I am going to heat set this with a heat tool, and that is going to melt that gorgeous embossing powder. Now, I'm going to take a scrap piece of paper off to the side here just to show you the options, because I didn't even know at this point which one I wanted to use on my card, and I just want to show you how easy and amazing this is. Now, if you don't have this die set, I am just using this for the circle shape, so I'm not actually using them as dies. Use a cup or a mug or the bottom of a drink bottle or the bottom of a container or the bottom of trace around sellotape, trace around anything at all, trace around, and you will be able to use these as shapes. As I said, I'm using these purely as a circular shape to trace around, and I have picked 3 different dies in this case. 3 different sizes just because I like that look, but you could do smaller ones and you could do entire circles. I'm choosing to do partial circles on this one, but of course, I mean, you could run with this idea. Take it and run with it, which is what I love about my channel. That's what I really enjoy, sharing ideas. And then over on my Facebook group called Come Crafting with Natasha, often you guys take my ideas and run with them and share the most fabulous, gorgeous projects. So that is the idea behind me showing you something, and then people are just amazing. You guys are just amazing. So all I'm doing is taking the circle, holding it in place, and that's why I wanted the sentiment stamped in there first, so that I could make sure that I had room for this one. So I'm doing it first. I've got the room. I traced, I think I actually went there and back just to get the gel pen started, and then I'm going to place where I want my other circles to be and just trace around these ones. Now, as I said, there are so many different designs. I am leaving a little bit of room in between, and you'll kind of see why in just a minute. But if I was sensible, I would probably have maybe even taped these down to help me out a little bit. But now that I'm thinking about it, even if I had used the gold pens or the silver pens that also came in that little 3-pack, I think all of these could have looked amazing. I was going for a very classic sort of white on craft. I guess that's the way that I was going with the video to give you some ideas, but even a black fine liner pen, that would look stunning on here. And yeah, just lots of good options. So I have drawn around my 3 circles, and as I said, I'm going to show you 4 different options that are just all hand drawn and really easy to do. And I'm sure with a little bit of imagination, you could also do you know, endless amounts more of these and different patterns, different little anythings. Now, I also know that there are stamps and things out there that are similar to this, and if that's your thing, then go for gold too. So, you know, I don't mind, just whatever. So I'm just drawing some circles here, and the first one, all I'm going to do is just do some zigzags back and forward. This does not have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be the perfect angles because it looks stunning nonetheless. And then all I'm going to do from here is just color in every second one. And if you didn't want to do this as kind of a focal point on your card, even doing the same design but doing it, turning all of these into borders around the entire card, just like how I usually do my squiggly lines, my kind of messy squiggly lines, turning these into a border around your whole card would look stunning as well. Then this one here, I just do some love hearts, and I just put the center of the heart to be kind of the line in the middle, so I sort of follow it round with the line. You could either color these in, or you could just leave them empty. That would also look stunning. And I mean, you could do circles, you could do squares like this, you could do little rectangles, you could do any shapes. I just chose hearts, but I'm just showing you some examples of all the fun things that you could do here. I've got room for one more little heart, and as I said, this is just a scrap piece of paper. I'm just showing you the options. And then moving on to the next one, I'm going to do some little, to me these are leaves. That's what I was going for, little leaves, like a little vine kind of going around. And I'm just going to alternate them, doing one on each side and space them out, going all the way around. You could color some of these in. You could color them in with a gold pen or a silver pen. You could just leave them open. I mean, as I said, options endless. And then at this point I was like, wait, I've got more. So I just drew a quick little circle, and then you can just do these other little, this is kind of like leaves. These could be bows, these could be, I don't know, whatever you want, but just go for gold. There's lots of different options that are available. So I'm going to move on and do my card, and then I'll see you back here in just a second. Decided to go with some of the leaves, and then I also decided to color in some of them white, and then on top of the white I'm taking some other gel pens. These are the most cheap and cheerful ones. I think I got these from Kmart for $2 or $3 for the whole pack. They're actually my kids' gel pens, but they're going to work just fine. I've colored on top of some with a pink and a purple. Then I decided to come in and just add a little bit more to the circles. I'm simply adding in some dots. So simple and yet so effective and gorgeous. And then these are going to be, I'm just going to leave this as is. So sometimes I have to learn when to stop, and I think this was a good point. So I add in a couple more dots just here and there. You could have added enamel dots or Nouveau drops or something like that for these bits, but I'm just doing it with my pen. And these are my 2 cards for today. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye!